Today we are going to be taking a look at the MX Select adjustable dumbbells, specifically the 55-pound version. We're going to be breaking down 5 categories: adjustment speed, handle quality, overall training experience, durability, and the value. Each one of these we're going to be scoring out of 10, and we're going to talk about if these are the best 55-pound adjustable dumbbells on the market. Let's go ahead and get into it. Before we jump into today's video, what's up everyone? My name's Dylan, this is Plates and Profits, where I help you build your home gym for less. A little bit about me: I've been a certified personal trainer for over 10 years, and I've had a home gym addiction for the past 5. I've got a bunch of fun reviews coming up, and I should have my hands on the Alibaba Rep Times Pep-In about a month and a half here, so if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and consider subscribing. Let's get into today's video and review of the MX Select adjustable dumbbells. First category, we're going to be looking at adjustment speed and just adjustment mechanism in general. And this is actually one of the things that makes these dumbbells unique. I know last week we broke down and compared the Rep QuickDraws, which also has a fairly unique adjustment system. And this is going to follow in line right with that. This has a little push pin that once you pop in, the adjustment lever pops up, and it's almost a clock style system where you turn it to adjust to the weight you want. I would say this is a little more user-friendly than the Rep QuickDraws. And as far as the speed test goes, we're going to be about right in line with the QuickDraws. I think it takes a tad longer with the MX Select. On your marks, get set, adjust. Although you aren't dealing with adder weights on these, which kind of takes some hassle away. It's also just a little more intuitive. You're looking at the number you're twisting to, popping the pin down, fairly simple. Overall, this took me roughly 7 seconds to adjust, so really fast. Anything under 10 seconds is going to be lightning quick. Just for reference, when I had the Ironmasters, it took me about 45 seconds to adjust from 45 down to 20. So significantly faster than those, and right in line with the Rep QuickDraws, the NÜOBELLs, and also those Rep Time Pep-In adjustable dumbbells. In terms of a score out of 10 on the adjustment style and overall speed, I'm going to give these an 8 out of 10. Under 10 seconds to adjust really quick. If I had to pick out some gripes, one thing I would say is you do need to adjust these on both sides. And so to adjust at the maximum speed, you're having to use both hands. One thing that's great about things like NÜOBELLs is you're only having to use one hand to adjust the handle. And just to play devil's advocate here, one pro you could look at from that is you can actually adjust one side up to a heavier weight and then adjust the other side to the lightest weight, and you almost have a kettlebell style dumbbell. So there are some pros to having to adjust both sides. In our next category, we're going to be talking about the overall handle quality. And one thing, again, that's kind of unique about the MX Select is they offer a rubberized grip and also a knurled handle. I wish more companies did that. PowerBlock is the only other option that really comes to mind that offers that, and that's only on a select few of their models. Now, I purchased these secondhand, and unfortunately, it came with the rubberized grip. But I read through some comments, and it sounds like the knurl is overall fairly aggressive. Some even found that it was too aggressive, like their wife hated it in one of the comments I read on Reddit. My wife also tends to prefer a more passive knurl, and she likes these rubberized handles, although did feel the handle itself was kind of long. The handle length is 6 inches wide. Just for reference, the NÜOBELL handle is about 5 inches in length, so a little shorter. Same with those Rep Times Pep-In, a little closer to 5 inches in length. So it is kind of a lengthy handle. Me personally, I do not really enjoy this rubberized grip. It kind of bulges out and gets a little wider in the middle and then is a little thinner at the end, but it just creates kind of an awkward grip. So I really think depending on what your goals are in the gym, if you're newer in the gym, you might prefer the rubberized handle, but if you've been working out for a few years, you probably want to go up with that knurled handle. So as far as a score goes on these, I do love that they offer both a rubber and knurled handle. If I had some dislikes, I don't love the length of the handle being at 6 inches. I myself prefer a smaller grip length, but that's generally just my personal preference. I love the choices that they're offering here. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 on handle quality. Category number 3 is overall training experience, and probably the most important. Generally, some of the other categories that we've just covered do factor into this overall training experience. And I'll say just generally on message board forums and things like that, One of the things that's most echoed about these dumbbells is they actually feel like real dumbbells. They don't feel like gimmicky like a lot of adjustable dumbbells do. People note that they love that they have a cageless design, and just that the overall shape of this feels and kind of looks like a dumbbell. Just for comparison's sake, if we were to compare it to the Rep QuickDraw versus the MX Select, I think just the size comparison in general and just the overall shape of these. You have a slight cage with the Rep QuickDraw versus a cageless design here. I think most people would gravitate towards the MX Select 55s. And I mentioned some of the previous categories influence that training experience. And as far as that adjustment mechanism, there is something kind of satisfying about the overall adjustments. The pop pin system is just, like I said, it just feels fun. And this is personal preference. You might prefer the Rep QuickDraw system, but for me, I really enjoy this pop pin system. There's something that's just satisfying about it. The length of the handle is kind of a bummer for me, but doesn't really impact it too much. I love the overall diameter size of these dumbbells. It's probably the biggest selling point for me. Just how slim and compact they are make it really easy, and I could definitely see these being in like an apartment gym or small spaces. It's really awesome having that smaller, compact size dumbbell. One thing I would note is the overall length of the MX Select, between the handle length being 6 inches, also the mechanism portion sticks out as well. If you include the adjustment mechanism with the handle length, it's almost 9¼ inches. Truthfully though, in my training, I haven't noticed that impacting my training that much. With that being said, the length at 55 pounds was definitely comically large. If you compare it with the Rep Times Pepin and the Alibaba set I have, and just a standard 55-pound pro style dumbbell, you can see just how much longer it is. It's so long that even if you take the Rep and Alibaba set all the way up to 100 pounds, the MX Select 55s is still longer than both of those. Pretty crazy. And I'll say you did start noticing that once you start passing 40 for pressing movements and things like that. But I've got to be honest, I've got a lot of praise for these dumbbells, just as far as the natural dumbbell feel, the cageless design, compact size, fast adjustments, overall durability feels pretty solid, and just comfort during normal bodybuilding movements. These really do shine in that regard. If I had one drawback to the experience, other than the awkward length at higher weights, at times when you're doing the adjustments, sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what number you're on. It almost feels like I'm in between the 20 and 25 and trying to push that weight down, and you just can't see quite fully. Almost feel like you need a little magnifying glass. I could just be getting old as well. It is a fairly small dial that you're twisting and turning, the numbers and font. But I did find that kind of annoying during certain movements, having to wonder, like, am I twisting this to the right setting? And having to just double check almost every time when I'm adjusting my weights to make sure I'm on the weights that I want to be selecting. Training experience, really solid though. I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10 on the training experience. Our next category is going to be durability. And overall, these have given me no issues over the last month and a half that I've been using them. Now that's not a large sample size, so I did scour Reddit to see what many comments were saying there. And this is a newer model. They had an older model. For the most part, no one's had issues with the mechanism itself, which is probably the part where I would guess would fail. So that's really encouraging to hear. One of the main reasons for this is because they use an entirely metal weight selection system, and it's not plastic internals like a lot of the other adjustable dumbbells on the market. They also offer a 2-year warranty on these, and I had heard people talk that they give you replacement kits for issues that arise, and I actually went to their website. It's a product page where you have to fill out some information to get those replacement parts. Now they do offer a drop warranty on these. They say it's a 30 inches or less drop. So look at it almost if you're benching and you have your dumbbells up there and you have to bail, that's about 30 inches. That's probably what I'm guessing they're thinking with that drop test. I've always wondered this. If anyone knows, let me know. But how do they verify if something was dropped? What if you just said, hey, this stopped working? Like, how are they going to know if it was dropped or not? I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just curious how they identify what that is. All this being said, as far as durability goes, I think these are a pretty solid option. And I mentioned in my Rep QuickDraw video that I think they found a really nice balance of fast adjustments and durability. And I think these do the same thing, albeit not as durable as those rep quick draws. If we were to throw these off of a building, I think they would break. Hence the 30-inch drop rule. So if we're just looking at adjustable dumbbells as a whole, I think there's just a separate category, the Ironmasters, PowerBlocks, rep times pep-in, quick draws. Those are kind of in a category of their own. And I would put these in a tier below that, but also a tier above things like the NÜOBELLs, things like the Bowflex. So as far as durability score goes, I'm gonna give this a 7.5 out of 10. I almost feel kind of harsh saying that and wanna bump that up to an 8, especially because they do offer rebuild kits and things like that. And I might be biased because I did see actually today, somebody posted on the Home Gym Community Facebook page about their 100-pound set and mentioned that he's had 3 instances where plates have fallen off, and also that the adjuster, he said, feels grindy. So we're gonna go with that 7.5 out of 10. Again, might be a little harsh. You can argue with me in the comments if you think that's too low. But next we're gonna dive into overall value of these. As far as value goes, let's talk about the price of these first. This model right here with the rubber coated handle is $450. If you were to upgrade this to the knurled handle, it would be $500. If you compare that with the rep quick draw 50-pound set, it's also $500. Which is pretty standard for adjustable dumbbell prices. If you look at the PowerBlocks, they have several different models, but their EXP model is about $460. Their Pro 50 is $550. Ironmaster 45-pound set is $500. And the 50-pound Eisenlink set is $360. As far as value goes for a 50-pound set, you are kind of right in the average there. And as far as what you're getting for that $500 is an adjustable dumbbell that looks, feels, and acts like a regular dumbbell. Very compact size, easy to adjust, easy to train with. I found, like I said in my training experience, I really enjoyed working with these. You're getting a great blend of fast adjustments and durability. I find it more intuitive than the rep quick draw and just feeling more like a regular dumbbell than something like the PowerBlocks, and way faster than the Ironmaster option. I do enjoy the choice of a rubber handle or a knurled handle. It's also nice that they have a 100-pound set once you're ready to upgrade from this. One little unfortunate note is it is an entirely different set. You can't buy add-on kits for this like you can with the rep times pep-in, the Ironmasters, PowerBlocks. And the reason for that is these are such a smaller diameter. The 100-pound set is a little bigger. From a value standpoint, I'm gonna give these a 9 out of 10. I really think these might be the kings as far as 50-pound adjustable dumbbells, and I should say 55. I don't want to shortchange them. If I had a gripe, it's a bummer that you can't buy upgrade kits to get to that 100-pound set. You're gonna have to just resell these and then buy the 100-pound set once you're ready to get there. So let's talk about who this particular dumbbell set is for. I think this would be a great beginner set for a few different reasons, because of how easy it is to adjust and intuitive it is to adjust. On top of that too, it really does feel and perform like a regular dumbbell. I find that some adjustable dumbbells almost discourage a beginner from starting because they're a little more difficult or don't feel like regular dumbbells. I also think this would be a great option if you lived in a smaller apartment, or maybe you even wanted an adjustable dumbbell set for your office. Basically, if space was a limiting factor, I think these would be a really good option for you. And a few people on my rep quick draw video mentioned that they own a pair of quick draws in conjunction with their Ironmasters. And what they said is they just leave their Ironmasters at 75 pounds plus for the heavy movements, and then they use their quick draws for the lighter movements. And I think these would be actually a really good candidate for that. If you had, the heavy Ironmasters, heavy Eisenlinks, things that do take a little longer to adjust, and you kept those for the heavy compound movements, and then you use these for all your isolation work and things like that, I think that would be a really killer combo. If we go ahead and tally up all our scores, these are gonna come in at a 41.5 out of 50. Which is actually the highest scored dumbbell that I've reviewed. And you kind of really got to look at things in different categories, under 60 pounds, over 60 pounds, things like that. Everything's going to be a little different. But for me, I really found that I enjoyed working with these. I think they are a great lighter weight capacity adjustable dumbbell. And that's why that's reflected in the score there. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this score, if you think you want a set of these dumbbells, or if I got anything wrong. I actually just managed to get my hands on a pair of Links, so I'll have that review soon too as well in comparison with those Ironmasters. If you enjoyed the video, found anything informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, maybe even hit subscribe. That's going to conclude it for this one, and I will see y'all next time. Peace!